Several days ago, the House Environment Committee held two public hearings on the governor's cap and trade carbon bill. Explain the bill, please, and your concerns with it.
Well, there are many concerns with the bill, but on top of it, it's a $1 billion tax increase. And the big polluters, the 130 polluters that are supposed to be taxed by this, and by the way, taxes are always passed on to the consumer, but the 130 polluters, among those are the University of Washington for having a steam plant, the city of Ellensburg. And by the way, I like Ellensburg. I mean, it's a great place to drive through. I always drive through and stop there. But also Rex Silicon in Moses Lake, one of the greenest companies in the entire state of Washington that manufactures solar panels. It really, I think, is not a very well thought out scheme. It has not worked where it's been implemented in Europe. And there are many and many other problems with it. But some of the testimony that came out, I think, was very interesting in that they specifically have been promoting things that have been conclusively disproven by scientists the world over. Let me give you a few specific examples. There were claims made that this is global warming is decreasing the snowpacks. Those claims have been backed off on because scientists have said actually that's not happening. These predictions are not coming true. In addition to that, people are making the old tired claim of sea levels rising, even though that is not true, and those predictions have been conclusively disproven, and scientists have had to back off those predictions. But those are some of them. But the most alarming testimony, actually, from the governor's coalition, to be specific, came from a lady who was fairly well ranting at the end of her testimony. And I asked her the question, is it your testimony today that you want to drive the entire fossil fuel industry out of business? Yes, it is. And I think that sums up where this whole cap and trade scheme is really going.
What's the expected outcome of the bill?
The expected outcome of the bill at this point is it's going to get voted out of committee, but very likely die in rules and not make it to the floor for a final vote. And I think that's because there are Democrats as well as Republicans that have grave concerns over this. And not only the economic cost and the cost to consumers, that this is another tax that our hardworking Washingtonians are going to have to pay, but I think also there really isn't a lot of true environmental impact on the positive side, but there's this great expense. It doesn't really make sense when you do the cost-benefit analysis.
Let's talk a moment about Freedom Agenda bills. You've had some spectacular successes this year, especially along the line of property rights bills. Tell us about these successes.
Well, the property rights bills that we have had come forward with the Freedom Agenda have actually composed the largest number that have got hearings. We actually are up to about 20 hearings on Freedom Agenda bills now. And among those property rights bills are Administrative Procedures Act reform. Well, that sounds kind of bland, and who cares about Administrative Procedures Act reform? It affects every single Washingtonian, and specifically the fact that government agencies right now are treating citizens and landowners as guilty until proven innocent instead of the other way around. Our Freedom Agenda bills on the property rights issue would flip that back the other way. Among those, it would allow evidence into court when there's an appeal of an agency decision that otherwise would be excluded that could actually exonerate a landowner. Another one that's very critical, I think, is requiring judges not to give the agency decisions deference as they do in practice right now, and instead hearing the case truly on the merits, new when that thing is appealed. So there's just a couple examples there, but we also have some other Freedom Agenda bills that are moving forward very quickly, and one of them is in regards to the surveillance state. The drone bill issue is coming up again, and the constitutional use of drones, and that looks like it's going to be voted out of committee and moved to the floor very quickly, but it was vetoed by the governor last time. It was reworked a little bit to be a little bit cleaner than it was last time and less confusing, and I think that it still has the same level of support. One of the other bills along the surveillance state line and the prevention of the surveillance state is in regards to stingrays. A lot of people don't even know what a stingray is other than something that might swim in the sea. It's actually a device that mimics a cell tower. So if you're getting on your cell phone and it connects to a cell tower, this instead intercepts the signal and actually downloads all of your information and can track your cell phone, something that we think, and I think every Washingtonian believes, needs a warrant for its use, and yet that's not happening right now, so this bill would deal with that. One of the other, and actually prohibit its use without a warrant. One of the other big issues is industrial hemp. I've talked about this a lot. Huge economic impact, $150 million in Southwest Washington alone, but I think throughout the state we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars economic impact. We've reworked the bill, cleaned it up, made it easier with less regulatory burden on farmers, And we also included some provisions to allow farmers to immediately begin growing hemp once this bill becomes effective and they get a license within 90 days. So I think it's a great step forward for our farmers and for our state. And hemp is environmentally friendly as well. So getting back to the whole carbon tax thing we talked about at the beginning, this is actually the right way to move forward for Washington State.
How can people get more information about these and other issues in the legislature?
Well, they can call and email me, and my email address and my phone number are on the bottom of the screen, but they can also call the legislative hotline, which is also on your screen right now, and get involved. It makes a huge difference. We've had several bills actually get hearings in committee because you have participated, you have gotten involved, and it's going to take us all together to restore freedom and liberty in Washington State and make lower taxes, less government, and more freedom a reality here in Washington.